So what exactly does Associa do in our day-to-day operations? Some of our new hires come to us from other industries and businesses and have no previous experience with homeowners associations and the professional HOA management industry. So to better answer this question, let's step back in time and visit a family who just bought their first home in a homeowners association. Welcome to another episode of Life and Love in Heavenly Acres, brought to you by Associa, the world leader in community management. Meet Charles and Shonda Cooper and their two children. They just took a big step in their lives and recently closed on the purchase of their first home. Charles and Shonda are so excited about being homeowners at last, and now the family has just finished moving in and is getting situated. Their dog Chico is very excited about the move, but Princess, their cat, Princess is coping with the move. When they were signing all of the paperwork during closing, Charles and Shonda became members of the Heavenly Acres Homeowners Association, Inc., and they were given a copy of the governing documents, and this will tell them everything they need to know about their homeowners association. The Coopers learned that their membership in Heavenly Acres was automatic when they bought their home. They pay only $160 in assessments each month to be a part of the good life. As members of the HOA, they now get to enjoy the beautiful shared amenities like this clubhouse and spacious swimming pool. And Chico wants to remind us that there's even a private dog park for HOA members and their four-legged friends. Charles and Shonda recently learned that Heavenly Acres is a self-managed community, and that means that the volunteers on the board of directors share in the responsibilities of running the community's operations. Charles likes the idea of everyone working together to make a great neighborhood. A few weeks after they moved in, Charles and Shonda were notified that the Homeowners Association's annual meeting was being held the following week. The annual meeting is required by the governing documents. Remember those? And gives all the homeowners a chance to voice their opinions. It also gives them a chance to vote for those homeowners who have volunteered to serve as board members. Charles wants to become involved in the community and to get to know the other homeowners, so he's going to plan to attend the meeting. Shonda knows how excited Charles is, so she's offering to stay home with the kids so he can go. The day of the meeting has finally arrived, and Charles is looking forward to it. He arrives a little early, but as 7 p.m. gets closer, he's surprised to find that there are only 5 other people there. They're friendly, but seem anxious to get down to business, so he introduces himself and takes a seat. After quickly going through many items on the agenda, the president of the board announces that it's time to hold an election for the outgoing treasurer position. Charles is surprised to hear that the position was open, and even more surprised when the group all stated that he would be the perfect fit for the job. What? Didn't he just meet them an hour ago? They must be desperate to fill the vacancy. But why? How hard could it be to run an HOA like this anyway? Charles is hesitant to commit to any role on the Heavenly Acres HOA Board of Directors. But the board members all encourage and even pressure him to add his name to the ballot. And it all happened very quickly. Charles doesn't even remember consenting, but in just a few short minutes, he finds that he has been unanimously elected to the new treasurer of the Heavenly Acres HOA, effective immediately. The existing board members eagerly and enthusiastically welcome him to the board, and the outgoing treasurer, well, he's just simply ecstatic. To his surprise, the meeting is quickly adjourned, and no one even stays around to chat. So he went for a long walk by the lake with Chico to think about all this. Charles feels a bit confused by it all, but finally decides that maybe this is a good opportunity to meet some other people in the community and to work with them to improve their new community. Besides, how hard could it be?
You've got mail.
A few days after the annual meeting, Charles receives an urgent email from the vice president. In the email, it says that Charles needs to send out assessment notices to all 400 homeowners on the mailing list. The association needs the assessment income to pay the monthly expenses for Heavenly Acres. But the big surprise is that they need to be in the mail by tomorrow. The vice president included a form letter and a spreadsheet with all the homeowner data, and he told Charles to be sure to keep his receipts so he can be reimbursed for the costs of printing and postage later. He can't write a check because the association's checks require the president's signature, and he's out of town. Charles is annoyed by the urgent nature of this last-minute request, and by the fact that he also has to pay for the mailing out of his own pocket and then wait to be reimbursed. But considering this is an urgent matter, Charles decides not to say anything right now and then just go and get the work done this evening after he gets off work. But Shonda's not going to like this because he'd promised the kids he'd be home. He buys postage stamps during his lunch break and spends his evening and his own money at Kinko's making copies. By 10 p.m., he finally completes stuffing all the envelopes and drops them in a mailbox. He arrives home pretty hungry and really tired. Shonda is irritated by how much time he spent away from home tonight and by the fact that he hasn't been able to say goodnight to the kids. So much for a quiet family evening together in Heavenly Acres. Charles is at work and receives a phone call from an angry neighbor. She couldn't reach the vice president, so she went to the next person on the board to complain about the condition of her neighbor's yard, and that next person happens to be Charles. She goes on and on and on for 20 minutes about how long her neighbor's grass is, his shabby fence, his overgrown yard, and how badly the trim of his house needs painting. Charles doesn't know where to begin with this laundry list of complaints. Luckily, the woman on the phone knows exactly what is stipulated in the governing documents. She lists off all the fines that the board should assess the homeowner. Now, Charles remembers from the meeting that fines cannot be assessed until a member of the board completes a compliance inspection. After finally getting the woman off the phone, Charles calls the other board members, but of course, none of them answer. He leaves messages asking for help. Later that day, his boss calls him into his office and tells Charles he's been spending too much work time making personal phone calls. Meanwhile, none of the board members have returned his calls. Over the next 3 days, the angry neighbor calls him every single day to request an update. Frustrated, Charles finally decides to do the compliance inspection himself. Now he'll have to do it after he gets home from work, and his wife will not be happy about that. Charles is overwhelmed and doesn't know where to begin with the neighbor's yard or what is even legally allowed. Does he take pictures, send a letter? Does he need to vote from the board next? So what is he going to tell the angry woman? And believe me, she will call again. To make things worse, just 10 days into his new volunteer board position as treasurer, his inbox suddenly explodes with emails. 12 different homeowners emailed the entire board complaining that the pool is full of leaves. So why hasn't it been cleaned? For the past 10 days, Charles hasn't even had the time to take his own kids to the pool because it seems like all of his free time is spent addressing problems in the Heavenly Acres community. Charles is really starting to feel tired and overwhelmed with this whole affair. He wasn't planning on managing the community when he moved in. He just wanted to help a little. So Charles calls the pool company. They said that the Heavenly Acres account is past due, so they've just stopped regular cleaning services until their account is current again. Get those bills paid and they'll be glad to come and service the pool. But wait a minute. Charles just remembered that he's going to need the president's signature on the check, and he's still out of town. So will he have to pay it out of his own pocket again and get reimbursed? It's a lot of money. And when is the president getting back from his vacation? This whole situation is getting ridiculous. Poor Charles appears to be at the end of his rope. But the very next day, something happened and changed everything. Charles and his friend Antonio stopped by the Melrose Diner to have lunch. When Charles brought up all of the headaches and time spent being a treasurer, Antonio, his friend, just laughed out loud and said, "Are you crazy? The community where I live has a professional management company to take care of everything." The company we use is called Associa, and we're really happy with them. All we need to do is meet as a board and make decisions. They do everything else, and it really doesn't cost the community that much more each month for their services. Charles couldn't believe his ears and immediately Googled HOA management companies and began the research. He's surprised to find many different companies that professionally manage HOAs in the area. So why hadn't the board thought of this before? They probably thought it was more than they could afford in their budget. Just imagine, no more mailing statements, compliance inspections, or writing checks. A professional management company will contract vendors, handle accounts payable checks, and accounts receivable transactions. They'll generate the monthly financial reports, do inspections, issue fines, manage HOA bank accounts, and even more. Charles asked for proposals from 3 management companies in the area. After reviewing the proposals, Charles recommends to the board that they sign a contract with Associa, and to his surprise, they unanimously agree. They're overwhelmed too. Everybody would love to get back to their daily lives in Heavenly Acres and leave the management up to the professionals at Associa. And then suddenly, after signing the contract, Heavenly Acres and all of its residents entered into the Age of Associa. Associa will designate a Community Association Manager, also known as a CAM, who will personally oversee all aspects of managing the HOA. The CAM will attend all contracted board and annual HOA meetings, perform compliance inspections, approve bills for payment, and recommend the best vendors for community maintenance needs. Associa will also designate a dedicated client accounting specialist, also known as a CAS, who will work with the Associa accounting team to provide monthly financial statements and also be available to always answer questions about the community's finances. Charles is so excited about the new direction his community decided to take, and so he reviewed the management contract again to better understand all of the great things that Associa would be doing for Heavenly Acres. Associa's team will open, maintain, and monitor the community's bank accounts. They'll send out the homeowner assessment statements on a regular basis. They're going to process all homeowner assessment payments, handle the delinquent homeowner accounts, and property ownership transfers. They'll process the payments for the community's bills and ensure that their HOA and homeowner data is properly maintained and protected. And finally, they'll take care of all those phone calls with a great customer service team. Charles and the board also learned that Associa is the industry's technology leader and is now offering Town Square, the first of its kind mobile application giving homeowners real-time access to their accounts. Using Town Square, homeowners can pay their assessments online, request access to HOA amenities, track deliveries and visitors, and even participate in polls and forums. And so, in just 1 month, Charles' life changes completely. With professional community management now in place, he again has time for all the activities he enjoys with his family. The complaining neighbor now calls Associa customer service. The pool is sparkling clean, and he no longer has to spend a lonely evening at Kinko's. One great idea and one great company called Associa saved the day in Heavenly Acres.